There it is. Yeah.
All right, I will call this meeting to order. We may yet have another commission member join us. We typically start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have some audience members, so I will read the adopted policy, which states that the adopted policy of the Berlin Township Zoning Commission is that each applicant or agenda item will be given 10 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson to make a formal presentation. Chair will allow questions from commission members in order to provide timely and orderly discussion of business for consideration. Finally, the audience will then be given up to 3 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson for each speaker to respond. Chairperson may limit repetitive debate. All comments from the audience must be addressed to the chairperson. Lisa, can you verify that the meeting was advertised?
Yes, as a regular meeting in December 2024 Delaware Gazette, and I believe this was tabled from
January 28th.
Yes. When was it?
January 28th.
Okay, it was tabled, yeah, January 20th, 2025.
And we got from Lisa our meeting minutes from the meeting on February 11th. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review those. I'd like to accept a motion to approve those minutes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Did I call roll yet?
You know what, I skipped roll call.
Okay, I'm not even sure who's here yet, okay. Yeah, let me call roll real quick. Darcy Kaplan?
Here.
Angela Brown? Here. Jenny Slopes?
Here.
Let's see, Keith Gosha? Ray Armstrong?
Here.
Tara Shields? Jasper DeChristopher?
Thank you. Keep me honest. So anyway, we did confirm that the meeting was advertised and we started a motion to accept the minutes. So.
Who made the motion? Jenny?
And I second it.
Okay, Ms. Slopes?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan?
Yes. All those things being done, we are continuing tonight an application that was tabled from January 28th, 2025. It's BZC 24-007. Sandra B. Carver, trustee at 475 North 3 BZK Road, Sunbury, 43074. This applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary and final development to rezone parcel, I will not read those numbers, which is plus or minus 37.6 acres. It's within the Berlin Commercial Overlay to Transitional Unit Planned Unit District, which is TPUD. It is, it says on here 111 detached single-family condominiums on 3 BZK Road in Sunbury, in the division known as Bluffs Down Creek. I believe that's a typographical error, isn't it? 106?
That was the original.
Okay. So.
Thank you, Ms. Kaplan and members of the commission. Aaron Underhill, I'm an attorney at Underhill and Hodge at 8000 and Walking Parkway in Albany. Appreciate the opportunity to be before you again this evening. This is the third time we've been here. I wanted to take some time and go back to the history of the project. That way Josh Barkley, who I spoke with in my office, is here to help me this evening and answer questions. We came originally to you all in November. You asked us to do a number of things. In response, we did make some plan modifications, and we had provided sort of what I call a statement in support of our updated plan. We have had a lot of conversation here about what the community plan says and what the recommendations are under the commercial overlay district. Densities ranging from 4 units an acre to 10 units an acre, a variety of commercial uses permitted in this area on this ground. And as I mentioned in that statement, it's indicative, I think, of really what a transitional area means. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities here. So, as I jokingly said, I think the last time I was here that, it kind of pains me that the developer's not seeking to maximize the density here, but we're actually doing the opposite. We're not even reaching the minimum, really. We have, since that original plan when we were here in January, we had three of the members here. We had told you that we had eliminated 5 units, so this capital, we are in fact at 106 total units here, which is 3.9 units an acre, down from I think 4.08 where we originally started. We also have increased the distance between homes from 12 feet to 15 feet. We'll talk about that here in a little while, a little more. And at that time, between November and January, we also changed the location of the entry drive into the project off of 3Bs and K to move it northward to improve site distance, as I think was brought forward to us and by some of the comments here, and then based on our conversations with the county, that was preferred. So this is a condominium form of development. As I mentioned before, it's intended to have universal maintenance, private streets, and a large amount of open space. Nearly 59% of the property is open space or treat area. One of the main things about this, in addition to kind of being in a transitional area from a regulatory standpoint, from a topographical standpoint, this project property has a lot going on with it, from big swings in topography to trees that we'd like to be preserved. And so what we really tried to do, and one of the reasons for the reduced side yard setbacks from a traditional single family subdivision, is to provide this clustering to allow enough units to make the project viable from my standpoint, but also to preserve those natural amenities that are so important to the community and in fact will be an asset to the neighborhood. Since January, when we felt really positive walking out of that meeting, we've made some other commitments here. We've made a commitment that at the front facade of every home will contain some element of a brick veneer, stone, or stone veneer element on it. It could be in the form of a water table or in the form of some sort of more vertical presence, should a homeowner decide that they'd like to include that upgrade on their exterior. We've also moved lot 1, which is the first lot on the south. When you come into the subdivision, we had it 100 feet from 3Bs and K. We are now at 130, so a 30% increase there. There was reference made, I don't know when this was around, if it was you or someone else, to the greenery. And we went back and looked at that. That's in fact 80 feet, so this represents a significant increase in distance from that as a comparison. We added 8 additional evergreen trees to the east side of that lot 1 to provide year-round screening from the road. We have also installed 3 benches around the limestone path. I think there was some thought at the last meeting that that's a great amenity for the community, but nowhere to kind of sit and relax and take a break. So that was a good addition and a good suggestion. We have committed to install fountains in the ponds. I know that's always a request here, and so we've added that. We've committed to install a stone veneer on the concrete head walls of the ponds. We've made some modifications to address the model home sign package that MI is now using throughout its communities. Probably not worth getting into too much detail there. There have been some of the trash cans in the central amenity area have been replaced with bike racks, to provide another option for pedestrian mobility. We've also moved the top lot into that central amenity area. I think there was some concern previously that it was sort of at the extreme end of the project, so that it wouldn't be easily accessible by those walking by feet. So we've done that. We have eliminated 10 head-in parking spaces off of Street B. We believe those are unnecessary at this time. And then we have changed the location of an emergency access path where it connects to 3Bs and K, shifting it northward to avoid an existing culvert and steep grades. So there's been a lot that's happened here in terms of this continuing to evolve. We've been very particular and about trying to really address your concerns. We're down to 3 divergences from the TPED code. The question came up earlier in the process about why we weren't just using the BCO. And our feeling was that was more form over substance. That would have included a laundry list of divergences because attached product is really contemplated in that. And so we'd be asking for divergences the other way from 0 setback to 15 feet that we're requesting. So we thought it was cleaner and a lot easier to work through the regulations, and we can, check 95% of the boxes for the regulations that apply under the DPUB. So with that being said, we're hopeful that we've earned your support, and hopefully you recognize where we've come from and how far we've come. And Josh and I are ready to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I think I want to start off by saying that a lot of the conversations that we've had have been not only about what you set forth, but also kind of a lot have been in response to residents' concerns about safety, about traffic. And as I've tried to explain, we as a board we cannot use our, I would say, preference. We have to apply the code. And so that is one of the biggest things that I want to kind of put out there, is that we have to apply the code as things are brought to us. So it's not, well, we want in our backyard because we all do live here, but it's just, and that, that's not saying we do or we don't, but I hope everyone can remember it's about applying the code, and that's what this board is hired to do. And Levi tried to explain that last as well. So the questions that I'm going to ask are specifically about our past meetings, and I'm going to stay away from the safety and hunting on the park that we talked about, because I understand those concerns. We aren't able to do anything about those concerns, and that's something that I think when it's brought to the trustees, they have more leeway than what our board has, okay? Just want to preface everything with that. So I thank you for driving by and making that alteration. It did look like there was a little bit more space between, it's 5 and 6 or 4 and 5 now, and that's totally fine, that doesn't matter, but it looked like there was a little bit more space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 5 and 6, but it's fine. Yeah, if there was a potential to scoot it back a little bit more, towards 6, it could just be the rendering, so it's on, exhibit F1.
So Josh Barkin, the reason you're seeing, I see what you see with your eye, the reason you see that is that for utility corridors and drainage easements. So you could probably catch a couple in here like that we tried to do. So this was like, I said everything you can get me every foot on top of it. This is our engineer said at this point, if we can get you more once it's final engineered, we'll get you another couple feet. But right now, it felt like the utility corridor was at 130 was big borrowing and stealing from everybody. But we certainly looked at that.
Okay, thank you. We have to do public comment after the board speaks. Do you have a question?
I have a question. You're all looking at something? Is there any way we could put that up on the screen so that we could look at what you're looking at?
I did not have the electronic copy of it. Yeah.
It's online.
Pull it up on this little tiny phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have mine.
See it.
You guys can pass it.
So if you look at, that's the next one, that's up to you, but if you can, or actually it's another one, copy of that. So what I was just speaking to is how, I mentioned at first, the very first property moved from closer to the road, and it moved back to behind, the Cox's property, right there. So right behind where it, swerves out. So now that's now 106, and the new number 1 is further back. I appreciate that those trees, those greeneries, because at first I kept trying to I think I was missing the fact that there were evergreens in there as well. My biggest concern is making sure that as you're driving down, I just almost said Cheshire Road, as you're driving down North through BZK, that you're not seeing wide open houses. And so I think that this will help, definitely. It seemed like some of the ornamental ones, obviously those will lose their leaves, but at least the pine trees will keep cover throughout. Do you feel like there is a need where the existing trees are, it's shown on, on the map, how the existing trees currently are and how they basically come up right behind that first property, Old House Property 1. Do you feel like there's a need to put anything behind between that and the, any plans behind that and access road? Is that anything you guys have thought about kind of as you go in, or do you want to leave that?
So I thought about that, I would, so that tree in there, kind of the topo on that side, and that was part of the reason why we moved that access a little bit.
Yeah.
It is pretty good. The other thing that was, I think, interesting about the greenery, correct me if I'm wrong, thinking about it on that, it's a much wider throat there. I think it comes on both sides of the road there.
Mm-hmm.
So that certainly adds a little bit of a different component too, as we were looking at it. I'd be open to the idea that if we think it needs supplemented, right now, we didn't do that because we thought that got there, but it's certainly not sort of on the die on if we think that it needs supplemented when the time comes. But this, we had spent a lot of time on this particular issue because we don't want, what happens back here is only for the people that live there effectively.
Yeah.
We want people to feel good about going.
And that would give a little bit more privacy to that first house as well, from the road perspective. Does that make sense? If they had a little bit, the other houses are further back in, but, so then my next, I had something else that I was gonna say first, but it'll come back to me. My next question was, how large are these trees that are being planted? What's the circumference of the tree? Or what are your steps on those? When they, specifically the evergreens and the planted?
Typically, they're at least 6 foot tall in insulation.
Okay.
That's what we had, if you look at exhibit
I didn't see that.
one, it talks the height.
Oh, wait, it does say that right there, okay.
Yep.
So, okay,
I think some of them are caliber too.
Okay.
For the evergreens, it talks height, for the
So it's
deciduous,
6
it talks
foot.
caliber.
okay, all right. So I'm okay with that, the fact that they're already 6 feet, it helps too. Certainly from a vantage point, it'll be a little better. When I'm looking at the elevations, that, and I get it, MI does in Powell, and that's a completely different product over there, but the ones that don't feel like they fit the area at all,
The modern elevation.
that modern elevation is D, and it's D in almost all of them, it looks like. It just doesn't fit the area.
I knew obviously knew what you were gonna say, because we hear that often. It happens to be a popular and growing, we hadn't had modern elevation in our series until about 18 to 24 months ago. And it's not my personal favorite either. It is, actually more popular than you would think. If that's a huge problem, we could try to work around that. It'd be really nice to have because it's becoming more and more popular, and it's certainly set back off the road back here, and if you don't live there, you won't see it. That we certainly like to offer it, because we've seen it become more popular from the buyers today. If that, it is certainly a major point of contention.
I think my point of view on it is if it's not in that throat of it, if it's not in those first 5 to 6 houses, that would be my preference.
Okay, we can stipulate that.
And then the fire brick red color as well, that clashes with so many homes and neighborhoods. It just looks, you have most of the other houses, are more of neutral colors, even the dark blue looks great. But then when there's that red color, it's right with all the siding,
Oh, yes, we actually, it's funny when you say that, I've been having this discussion at Jerome Village in Dublin, and we actually don't offer that in some areas because no one picks it. And so we don't use it, so I don't have a problem saying we won't use it.
Yeah, I mean, that's my preference, because again, it just, those houses then, I feel like clash with anything around it, no matter what the color is. It's kind of like nothing seems to, honestly, tan houses don't even look good near it, and I feel like it starts to become an eyesore. So if we could limit it, or get rid of that altogether, I think that would be a benefit. And it's only the one color, and because it is so different from the other colors that you have on there, that would be my preference there.
Got it. This is,
Can you remind me where the top lot used to be placed? Was it behind, was it behind, it was at the front, right?
Pardon me?
no, not,
more close to the entry.
I don't,
I don't know when it got
It
there.
was on one end or the other, but I can't remember which end.
Okay,
Yeah.
I definitely like it more where it is now.
We had the top lot shift, so I'm looking at this mill that we released now January 10th, from the January meeting. The top lot was like further west in between homes, like 73 and 74.
Oh, okay,
And that area shrunk a little bit.
Yeah.
To help with the entry.
okay.
That's where the top lot got moved over into that central.
That does feel better that it's in there. My only then question was, as it's replaced by that sidewalk going through between 73 and 74, because there's not a sidewalk on both sides, I felt like it just kind of dumped people out into the street then. And from a safety perspective, with if it's kids, just being dumped out into the street. I don't know that the right answer is to flip the sidewalk onto the inside, but it could be, because then, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair, so the reason, we were trying on all those driveways to make sure that we have more than 18 feet, which will park two cars in the garages, or in the driveways. And this site, it gets pinched really, and so we actually didn't have the depth to do that if we flipped the sidewalk. I hear what you're saying. These roads are certainly tighter by nature, being private in a condominium development, so it's a little bit different than letting out on a big subdivision street like right here in the Pines. That's a harder one to.
Even a crosswalk, having like a crosswalk.
Yeah.
There.
I think we could do
I think
that.
it's a crosswalk, if it's for kids to, ride the bikes from there that live in the neighborhood.
I think we could do
That
that.
it's a curb cut down with a crosswalk in between.
Yes.
Just thinking for younger kids that could be there, that they're not turning, they're not going straight out into the street, or people. I feel like if there's a crosswalk, there might be more, from a safety perspective, might be better.
Got it.
I appreciated the addition of the fountains into the pond. I know that we're trying to keep so that there's 2 parking spaces in the garage and 2 on the driveway, but I was concerned about losing those 10 parking spaces, because the only additional parking that we have then is around in that street, oh my gosh, street C. And is there truly enough space to park when people are, coming over, visiting people that live in these houses, is there enough room to park on one side of the street? Not to store vehicles there, but to actually park because you're going over to visit someone.
Yeah, it will, so, yes, I think there will be. We've looked at a couple of our communities and some of the surrounding, it is certainly tight, but in our opinion, it's kind of part of the living style. I mean, it's a tighter condominium. I do think certainly you have parking on the non-fire hydrant side of the street. On a few of the streets, that will be difficult from a practical standpoint with the houses, but there should still, based on how you program it, to have room between the driveways. And you're not gonna have 2 or 3 cars stacked up. It'll be 1 car driveway pool in go.
And the reason, so a very specific example was I was just over in a condo neighborhood yesterday, and there's literally no parking outside of, cars have to be inside the garages. And those are structured a little bit different because it's floors, it's quads, but still it's that same idea that there's nowhere to park. So I want to make sure that at a minimum, people can park on one side of the street, even if it is, a car in between. Because I think about birthday parties, right?
Yeah.
There's a birthday party. Where are the people coming to the birthday party? You get a park if you have 10 kids coming over. There's 10 additional cars. So those are the types of things that I'm thinking through with this, is making sure that we do have.
Yeah, I think we'll be, so one lifestyle, this will be a little bit different than, Pines and birthday parties, right? Like this is gonna, just naturally the size of the units, the low maintenance aspect of it, you're gonna be a little bit more towards really young families and empty nesters, just by the virtue of it, at some point with 2 or 3 kids, this is probably gonna be too small for you. So I think some of that gets there, but I do think that you're gonna be between the central green parking, between a few of the other areas and in between the driveways, it won't feel like nothing. And part of it with squeezing everything back off the road too was part of the reason that we couldn't let it breathe as much, I guess. It just got tight back there.
Okay. Okay, I think those are my points as of right now.
So, just to start, I appreciate this is a unique situation where we're trying to preserve as much of this natural green space. So, we're trying to kind of come somewhere in the middle. As far as the divergence with the 25 feet between structures down to 15, I appreciate that you did make a change. I think if it was larger, obviously that would help with the parking because then there would be more space in between. So, but the question is, where do we, will that be sufficient, or is there something else we can do? Like, for example, I thought about with the homes 1 through 5. Like, would there be? To me, it looks like seeing it from the road, those are the homes you're going to see that are all tighter together, driving down through BZK. So, and it seems like one is pushed and squished right up against the entry. So maybe taking out 1 and 2, or at least one of those, might just kind of clearing any of that from the road a little bit more. I would have liked to see. The other thing was the language as far as I know you had added the language as far as the front facade of each home will contain a brick veneer stone or stone veneer material as part of a water table. We had talked about vinyl a lot, and we asked for a specific, what are you looking for? Are you going for 99% vinyl and just a tiny, it still doesn't tell me what we really want to see. I mean, literally, you could put one brick, and I know you wouldn't do that in your design, but it doesn't really give me an idea or feel for how much you're putting on the front.
So we've started to see places pop up and say 15%, 25%, 40%. The problem with that is that that's not an actual architecture standard. If you actually then force something onto an elevation that doesn't want it, right? Like, if we have communities with 40%, you all of a sudden see our architects are like, I guess we'll put a little bit here. Whether a farmhouse elevation that by definition doesn't necessarily have much brick or stone, all of a sudden gets 40% stone put on it, and it just doesn't look right. So in our experience, it's been really, or what happens is we just go to hardy on the front and vinyls on the side, and then you have two different profiles, you know, a 6-inch and a 4-inch, and you have two different fade rates on the house. So that might be an okay standard from a zoning text, but in practice, you don't end up getting what you really want. And what we have found that to make the elevations pop, because I mean, been here longer than everybody, that's a really best product for production builders, is have other elements, and we'll never do one brick to your
Right,
point. So how do we make sure that every elevation pops? And on smaller houses in a condo like this, it's not that easy. So our professional opinion, I guess, is that this was the standard. We thought if we put on every elevation, we had to have some level of brick or stone, but then you're at least getting diversity on every house. You're not having full vinyl boxes, and you're getting everything to pop a little bit. So that was kind of the background for how we ended up with that standard. Happy to discuss some other options, but with these houses, what ends up happening naturally is you have a hardy front and vinyl sides, and you can go look at a lot of that in the southern city of Delaware stuff, or Concord Township, and we've really struggled with it, frankly, because it's two different profiles on the houses. Certainly, these are smaller houses closer together that you probably won't see much of, but it's two different profiles, and fade rates are different, and the homeowner actually has to paint the front of it in the future, not the rest of it. So that was kind of the background on that, because the point's is fair, well taken, but that was kind of where we're coming from.
Because I mean, like, looking at the units, like, it looks like the first couple of these, like, those look all vinyl to me. I don't see any of those elements that you said that would exist.
Correct. On our A elevations, typically, but if this product is just as is, it's not required. You have the option to add it. But what we are suggesting that per the zoning text, that it would be a requirement for us, that option would have to be included in every house. So you're right, you are seeing examples in here that don't have that. I don't have stock images that show all the options. So that would be required though, and every time we file a zoning permit, Levi would have to confirm that there are two elements on every house.
Okay.
If you'd like, we could make a condition of approval before we go to the trustees. We could update that elevation in here, right?
Maybe not. I can get a real picture of it. I don't know if I can. This is like our
Right.
stock.
Well, we can find it. That's not meant to override what we put in the text.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and then in number 7, what you've added, the stone veneer to the concrete walls, is that in the text or is that just in the, whatever, exhibit like F1? That's the only place you can find that in there? Some developers do try to serve that. You don't want to say actually.
Yeah, I don't recall whether there was, it's not called out in your code, it's more of a preference, and it's probably not in the text, but
Okay.
we're making that commitment on the record here, so.
That usually comes up at the trustees as well, is my experience.
Right, I like to say, it's just when you have to like dig a little bit further, I feel like developers, I mean, like, for example, in my neighborhood, the developer won't put the stone in. It was a condition of approval, he won't put it in. Well, I mean, we're kind of fighting with them about that, but just, I feel like it's a little bit, it's, to me, if it's in the text.
We'll put it in the text.
And going back to the final, I thought in the minutes from the last meeting, you mentioned bringing samples. Did you bring any samples or?
You know, I didn't bring any samples.
It seems to be a common thing. That's okay. All right,
Are they comfortable with lines?
Yeah, I mean, the Pines, Berlin Farm would be the two most comparable
okay.
ones that we do in the township. But it's 0.046 gauge, 4.5 inch reveal. And so usually what we see, at least from a production level standpoint, you can be 0.4, 0.42, 4.4, 4.6. And it's just been good for us to be 4.6, and we do that everywhere.
And that is what it's in the Pines?
That is what's in the Pines
Okay.
and in Berlin Farm as well. or
Okay.
As well.
Okay, that's all I have.
So I have some questions that are probably backing up quite a bit. On these, I want to know, like, how many bedrooms, price point, square foot, and are there basements?
They're not basements.
Okay,
Bedrooms are 3 to 4 bedrooms. Square footage, the ranch is probably 1,500 to 1,600 square feet, and the other ones range from about 1,700 to 2,300 square feet. Most of them have what we call a morning room option. We can add a little bit of square footage to each base plan. What was it?
oh, price points.
Oh, so price point, the hope is that there could be a 4 on the front of the house, actually. And that would be the hope. It's not easy to get there, but I think it'll be 500 or 450 to 500. Every time I say that, it ends up being more expensive because of something, but in the market here. But the goal for this particular area is to continue to be transitional in use. Our North Lake Preserve homes are low to mid 500s, some even creep up to 6. You come over to Schottenstein Homes, which is a little bit more, and ours is before you get to some of the rental on 36, 37, that this would be another area of condo traditional and be in that mid to high 400s.
Thank you. You did say the roads are private, so be maintained by the HOA,
Yes,
Yeah.
kind of.
but not gated, correct?
Correct.
Not kidding.
This is just, I felt picky even asking this, but I went through all of your service letters. I didn't see anything for gas. Is there going to be gas?
There will be gas. and
Okay.
We do have gas. Is this? will be gas?
We got gas.
Yeah, we got
It
gas.
would be something
I
else.
didn't see that.
You're positive you have gas because one street up, there is no gas.
But across the street, I think it's coming from across
Is it,
the
okay, if it's
street.
coming from across the street, it's one street up, on Winter Lane, they do not have gas. They
And
don't have.
I think that we're coming across the street. We had this discussion because it's how you come around there and tree. So we definitely do have gas. And that's a fair question.
I didn't see that, and I thought,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's all electric. I mean, that,
I think
It's
there's
happening.
someone more that was suburban, because I saw.
Oh, it is suburban. That's right. That's
Oh, is
I
it
thought I saw Aaron Rose.
I couldn't find it,
signature.
so maybe I just haven't seen the page. I don't know. Other than that, just my concerns have been answered. I do appreciate the fact that you kept natural slate trails. That's great. There have been concerns about it being up against the parklands. The Corps of Engineers really does a lot to protect Allen Creek Reservoir, and they have deep distances from the shores, unlike places like Weaver and some other places that you've seen. So it's kind of on them to protect their own land. Is what I am taking away from that. And something is going to get built here, whether we personally like it or not. So I appreciate the fact that I think this is overall a fairly good deal for us. And
Thank you.
so I appreciate the things you're doing. And yeah, I do want to send you a text. I didn't understand what you said about there was an elevation.
Yes.
None of the A's didn't have faces.
Yeah, if you go back to, yes,
Okay.
modern.
Okay. Yeah, I missed the first part. I see what you're saying.
So the comment
So
was
if
not
there's some of
there.
those back in, I just don't want to see them in, like, can we say 1 through 6?
Yeah.
Because that's truly until you get further in.
I had no modern elevation on the first 6 homes, and I had no fire red brick siding on the first 10 homes.
Yeah.
If that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And, the parking does seem like something to be concerned about. How much distance from driveway to driveway is this mostly? I mean, is the thought that you can park one car in between each driveway, or does that not work?
So, some of them, depending on the handing of the house, so we'll run our sewer laterals, some will be clustered next to each other, and then between those two, you won't be able to park. Then the next one, the other driveways will be clustered and doing that. So I wouldn't say every other one, but every couple, it will not be a problem, parking it. And we're working through that at Liberty Green, right next to Liberty High School in the Greater Powell area. And, as you imagine, we get a lot of complaints on things, and that is not wrong. I mean, just kind of, it's a different living style, and people kind of know what they're saying.
So the parking would be permitted on one side, the fire hydrants would be on the other.
That's right.
Correct. And I did love the idea about the curb cut with crosswalk, because to your point, it just kind of comes to a dead end, and it is sort of meant to be walkable, so that would assist with that.
Good suggestion.
Other than that, I really do not have questions. All right, you ready?
Several questions. These will be pretty easy, I think. Between lots 73 and 74, you show a walkway, and it looks like from street B to street C, probably the access to mailboxes and or top lot, et cetera.
Yes, that's right, and that's where we're talking, we'll add ADA accessibility, meaning a ramp, and there, yes, is that?
And the main part of that question is how are you going to delineate it to keep them out of everybody's yard? Now, the reason for that is from experience in several neighborhoods, several subdivisions and so on, where you've got it, is how do you delineate it? Because you can wind up with some very irate homeowners, condo owners in this situation.
So that is the answer to the question. The condo association will mow these people. These people won't have lawn art. The condo association will mow the backyard, and as such, the condo association will maintain the ground around that. So, I mean, in theory, those are a little bit premium lots as long as you're okay with somebody walking next to the house, because your kid could go throw the baseball a little bit further than the other one, but it will all be maintained, so it really won't be an issue of but maintained by our common condo owner association that all of the homeowners will be part of, that we won't really have to worry about somebody staking claim to it or not maintaining around it. Does that answer the question?
Well, really what we're seeing is somebody doesn't want them using a walkway, walking beside people's houses, or getting them to stay on the walkway and not walking through the yard right up to the house, etc. That's the most common complaint that I used to hear when I was sitting in Levi's. And so that's something that's going to be a point of contention somewhere along the line, whether it's to the builder or to the HOA, but it's going to be a problem at some point down the line.
Are you thinking do like a similar fence to what is at the front? Like a cross, I think we have a crosswalk fence at the front on each side.
Well, you can have a crosswalk, but how do you maintain them on the sidewalks?
No, that's what I'm
Going
saying.
between.
If you were to put the fence from towards the back of 73 and 74 leading up to the street on each side, does that make sense? On each side of the walkway.
Yeah, that's a good question. Or if we did like a handful of arborvitae along there to like.
Something like that, if it's going to be maintained.
Kind of delineate a corridor.
If you can do that, you can save yourself and a lot of your owners a lot of contention, an awful lot of complaint to some of your,
Well, that's how we solve that, that was a suggestion, that we wanted to improve recreational conditions over here. I have it on the meeting. But it's over here. Is it?
Right next to Berlin.
No, it's further up across the road in the school.
there's also one on
That's the one.
Finch and so on, so. there's-
Yes, so that's what we had done, is we said, have a fence on each side of the walkway and trees right there, so that it crosses it up some and makes the roads feel a little bit more private for people that happen to be walking on the walkway.
I think you need to put something, and I think it needs to be in the text.
Okay.
So I would like to see that,
That is, I got my list of
okay?
build 5 and building conditions that will rattle off. We have part of each side, so.
I see that you say you've made some changes to your signage and stuff, and back to that, and, Levi, are we doing sale flags,
What's that?
feather flags, sale flags? So,
We have allowed them in some other places.
I didn't know if that was still allowed or not. I assume you're also gonna bring the sign package when you go for which ones you're gonna build as models.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, you can
So
see
that will
exactly.
be in front of the BZA.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have to get a conditional.
You have to get a conditional use for your models.
Yeah.
And the parking, the off-street parking between them, between your models. What you dig up, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think everybody's already hit everything else I had, so.
I have another question. Do these have a back patio or any small fenced area that limits your own space for each?
So no, it's actually, we don't permit fencing
Okay.
at all, but they do have a patio. Well, we provide an option to purchase a patio, and they either do whatever, a 10 by 16 concrete pad from us, or people elect not to have us do it, and then they get their own landscaper to do it. But yeah, they will have room back there to do their own thing.
Do people, to preserve their privacy, I guess, since you can't have kids, do they put up things like the tall arborvitae, or is that even permitted, even doing landscaping there?
Yeah, they really don't. They really don't. It's, I mean, sometimes you'll see like a little arborvitae on the side. If they have a 10 by 16 concrete patio, the one side will be aligned with kind of arborvitae a little bit. But yeah, it doesn't, it's interesting how you ask.
And the interesting thing about a condo is you own the open spaces in
Right.
common with everybody else, so I suppose if there was an issue, you go to the condo board and try to get them to do that for you, or get permission to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my last question.
And you do, at what point are you turning it over then to a condo association from the builder?
So the condo association law is much more strict than the homeowners association law. So I think by like 66%, we have to have another owner on the board. And we turn it over exactly as condo law requires. It is much more strict, like with our HOAs, we can go, I mean, sometimes we can go through 100% before we turn it over.
Yeah, we don't here.
Yeah, and this is, like, I think it's, I'm not an expert on condo law, but I think 66%.
Yeah.
That we have to have somebody actually on the board with us, and it goes from there, and I think we have to be turned over by maybe 75 or 80. I mean, it's
Yeah.
low enough that we, as a couple years ago, we haven't done any kind of traditional condominiums, and it's become a big deal to monitor because our team also manages all of our homeowners association and condo associations, and this is a lot more work than just the 3 land guys at MI making sure everything's in good shape and taking all the calls.
Okay. All right. I guess that's all I had.
Okay. So we have audience members that we would like to welcome to speak. Go ahead.
On 106, can you tell me how many feet there is?
For Lisa, can you say name
Stanley
and
House,
address?
6861 Humberlow Road, and I also own 357 North 3 BZC.
So on 106, you have exhibit, there's a couple F1, we supplemented the buffer there as well. There is a 25-foot perimeter buffer, then there's a informal feet before the
Say that again.
So there's a 25-foot perimeter buffer around the outside of the thing, and then you have what would be the lot, and then 5 or 10 feet to the feet. So somewhere between 30 and 35.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean by perimeter buffer.
So I said that we have at least 25 feet around the perimeter of the entire site.
I mean, not according to where my outbuilding is, you're saying you own all the way up to in the back of the property? You're saying the black line is 25 feet in from what you actually are buying?
Oh, no.
Okay,
No. The black line is what we're buying.
okay.
And then we can't do anything closer than 25 feet to the property line. And so that's.
You're saying from the side of 106 to my property line is 25 feet?
I think it's a little bit longer because we can't, it's gotta be 30 to 35 feet because we can't have the house right on that line either. There's the side, 5-foot side yard, or in this instance, it's more than that, 7.5 feet. So that's why I think it's about 30 to 35 feet.
Just on the plan, it doesn't look, if the houses are 15 feet apart, am I correct in that the houses are 15 feet apart?
Right.
So if this is to scale, that does not look like double the width of in between the houses between property line and 106.
I don't have a scale on to do the measurement. But, I think on this one, I got it, my little here, it looks, I don't know, it looks between 105 and 106, and the difference looks probably about the whole that's 15 feet.
So you're saying that 30 feet is my property line?
Yes.
And then the trees are going to be similar to what's lining the entrance?
So here, if you look on exhibit F1, which
You want to take this one up?
So we've told there, to wrap your property with the landscaping shown on here, which, has a number of things. So 9 pine trees, 10 Serbian spruce.
So there's no bounds, and these are the lists.
Yes, there is no bounds, there is, to get anything sizable to go up, there's just not enough room to get mound of any substance. So, yeah, this is the landscape plan that we put together and supplement that, try to provide as much of a buffer along there and mix the deciduous trees with the evergreens.
And then you also have a fence there.
Correct.
There's also a fence along there, other property line.
Across the back of the property line? What type of fence?
So that is on exhibit F2. And so it's a 4-board horse fence.
Okay, so then I have a 4-board horse fence on the long side. How's that going to work?
So we share an existing fence on our side of
It's on your side?
the property line. Does that sound right?
I'll have to look at my survey.
I don't know, my dad got this, I think 30 years ago.
Okay. I'll confirm, but ours shows it on our side of the property line, and these 10 is that. And that is also on exhibit F2 in the bottom of the application.
I have kind of a related question.
I'm sorry, please give your name and address.
Chris Sutton, having a reference of 754. So the fencing that's around Stacy's property, does that go around the entire purchased property? The fencing all the way around? And that, so Lisa was kind enough to send me meeting minutes from one that I missed. And supposedly there was discussion about fencing, but I couldn't really find it in the meeting notes. So I guess one question, not to be very good, why isn't there fencing? In fact, why are we not even gating this community? Because we created an environment that's gonna send all the kids that wanna go and jump off the cliff with perfect opportunity to pull in here, park, and go back through the woods. Unless you really make this just available for the people who live here, there are gonna be other people that you don't necessarily want in there.
So when you're asking about that, and I think the discussions that I always been part of this was really more of a buffer from the property up front. I mean, if we put in a fence on the backside, the kids are going to jump off, but, you know, I mean, if they're jumping off, I'm jumping over.
So again, with the way it is here, it isn't clear really where the line is. You know, and to go over a fence takes a little different, what's the right word? Nerve, maybe would be the word. You know, to jump somebody's fence and go in there is different than just walking through. And, you know, our property, we built our house a few years ago, rebuilt it after many, many years, and we literally came in one afternoon, there's 7 cars parked in our lot with kids, you know, and we had a porta potty, so it looked like, hey, that's the place to park. I mean, this is inviting this whole dynamic that, you know, right now it's a little bit limited, but this is gonna make it really convenient. And I'm concerned.
I understand that, and certainly if this was apartments that didn't even see, you'd have even more of that problem, but I'm not sure if a fence is a solution to solve that. Certainly, there's gonna be a line of demarcation because our condo association maintains all of it, so it's not like you could have a property owner who's delinquent on maintenance. I mean, it's gonna be very clear that we maintain the here, and frankly, the woods start there.
Did you consider the gating of the community and that was discussed or not?
We did not. What would the gating of the community?
It keep basically the other cars from coming in, parking and using it as a dump off.
Well, I think any neighborhood you build in here that you're putting a driveway in, you invite that, so I don't know.
No, it's weird, they respect the driveway, but if there's a street.
I mean, like a street, like if you just have, like, let's say this was lots with, you know, like, I don't know.
Single family home.
Single family homes that wasn't condos, I think you would have the same concern. I don't necessarily.
But it's right next to the park. That's what we're saying is different about this and what we've seen in our township prior. We haven't been, and I could be totally wrong, I know that you guys pointed out that you approved something on the other side of the lake, but so far, nobody has built right next to the park. And had like a parking, I think you're gonna have a parking problem to begin with, even if nobody else comes in, but I think other people will come in.
Well, that might be one of the upsides of having a little bit less parking here.
Not really when you
And
come
also
home, the kids have
technically, it's
been there
private
all day.
property, you can have people towed and, you know, with their license.
Yeah, this is all private property in here, so, it's not the typical township or county road.
And maybe signage will help with it. The other question I had was, as far as the parking is concerned, if you're having 4-bedroom homes, you are gonna have a parking issue, in my opinion, because you're gonna have people that have teenagers and have a third car and da-da-da. But, the other question I had about these, where is the nearest tornado shelter? If none of these have basements, where do people go next month when the tornado sirens go off? I think the only tornado shelter that I know is in Sunbury, that you can go into the schools in Sunbury, but I think it's a very long way. And I don't know if there's something you could build on the property to help with that or not, but in Ohio, building something that doesn't have tornado shelter access seems risky in this climate.
That is a question I'm gonna ask internally tomorrow. I mean, we have a bunch of these homes right next to Liberty High School, obviously, which certainly that with the open fields next to it is a threat, but I don't actually.
Yeah, but the high school is a tornado shelter. You could go to interior rooms, and, that's where I think the shelters are in Sunbury, is that the
So people, I mean, okay, that's a tornado shelter on any given day, but at 2 a.m, when the siren goes off, mom and baby aren't driving over at Liberty High School. In the
they
dark. You can't.
They're gonna have a hard time getting in.
But typically, they'll make emergency consideration for, there's a tornado coming, and maybe I'm just sensitive to it, because we built our house, 4 years ago, we had a tornado stop 20, 30 yards from the house. You can see the trees it took down, so it is a consideration, safety consideration.
Interesting question. Other questions or?
I still have a concern about there not being a left turn lane there. I mean, you're adding another potentially 200 and some cars going down Previews and Hay in a dip in the road where you can't see oncoming cars are. I just, not having a turn lane there is gonna be an issue, in my opinion.
It seems very doable, turn lane, yeah.
So the county has asked us to pay in lieu of building. And part of that is that 4 lanes, part of their future traffic, if the lockers there. I think it's a very small, it's only like 3 trips per day that trip a left turn lane into the site. And I think we were at maybe 35 or 40, so it's.
Wait, so only 10 would turn left into your.
That's what trips the requirement. So it's a really low threshold to get a left turn lane on development in Delaware County. It was all over the place. Ours was like, was not as much as you would think, but that's all in here. Again, that was completely dictated by the county and kind of what the future of through BZK will or won't be. I mean, there's all kinds of ideas that we talked about a little bit.
They'd rather have the money than have you install that improvement and tear it out 2 years later.
That's right. Yeah, I think we talked about that a little bit at the last meeting. I don't know, if we're able to help us with that a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Danko, 95, BZC. I agree with the fact that with the roads, there's going to be people that's going to be parking there. And then a lot of communities like the river for half my income, so pulling into these communities that are this tight, there isn't enough parking. I usually end up turning my head on the parking in the street rather than doing my delivery. So the parking is going to be, there's just no doubt about it being that close. I also agree that without a fence around the building, you are going to have people. I'm an outdoorsman. I respect people's lots and stuff like that, but I know people that will, if it's an open road, they're just gonna park wherever they need a parking spot and go access it that way. My biggest concern is, if you have kids going back there in the woods, someone's gonna start a fire, because we just, growing up, that's kind of what we do. We go fishing in the cove, fire gets started with the houses being exploded. I'm very concerned about the threats of fire. I mean, we've obviously seen it in the Carolinas and then California, whole communities being wiped out. My other question is if you guys are in charge of the condo association, my biggest concern of all of this is that you're up on a plateau, you're gonna put lawn chemicals to, make the grass look green. The fact that you guys are actually doing it instead of having each homeowner compete with each other, actually alleviates a little bit of that, because, we don't have a competition for who has the greenest yard, and we're gonna be the same. But is that something, I mean, we're in a world that wants to go green, and this is the way to go green the correct way. Is there a way to not put chemicals on the lawn to do it the correct way? Because you got 3 major watersheds back there going directly into the lake. I already have an algae problem in the lake. It gets much worse if you call us, so we're not gonna make it because we're gonna have algae growing and E. coli is gonna come to the beaches and we're gonna close down. And that's, I'm currently in contact with the governor's H2O Ohio Act to see what future things can be in control of that. And, I mean, to me, this just presents an opportunity for you guys as a homeowner to be progressive. Let's go green. Let's make sure that, I mean, we had a fish go on the lake 3 years ago, white bass, and we could go from catching 100 to 150 white bass a day to catching none. And that's the whole biological ecosystem is, they provide bait fish for the other fish to eat, and my smallmouth numbers have been down. Sorry, I'm out and stuff like that. I don't, I'd much rather see this be winter spread out, but it's not my property. I can't dictate and stuff like that. I do realize that we're gonna exhaust at some point in time. I'm just, I'd like to see you guys, do what you can to protect every state park. I know you're not necessarily obligated to, but I also think it's the right thing to do. As a voter.
That's all fair feedback. I don't know is the short answer, and, we'll commit to studying it and doing what we can. I mean, this is a great area to live in. There's a lot of interested in it. The park itself is, without it, it's all there. We all see it from different lenses, but selling point of this is having a great park, and if the park isn't great.
That's why most of us live in this area is because it's park. We want the deer reserve in our backyard. We want, the eagles around. We want, everything that goes on with the state park. The fact that we have 4 boat docks within 5 minutes of each other, we can get on the lake whenever we want to. I just wanted to be protected is all. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. No, man. Well, come back here if it comes back.
I'd like to ask one more thing. So her concern was looking at 106, to me it does draw the attention to that. And I don't know if it's just the way it's scaled here, but it does seem like it's right up on her property. And I know you put some trees in there, but it seems like anywhere else, we do buffering, we certainly do mounding to if it's possible. I understand there's not enough room there, but could you take out 106 and put mounding in there? It does seem like it's right up on the property line, and these are condos, so you're looking at a lot there.
I think the mounting is going to be challenging with the Cal 106 as you get back here on the topography. I guess I was interpreting the mounting more along the side of the house and the entry as opposed to the back part there. I haven't looked at it in that lens. Part of this was to try to pull off of through these decays, kind of the reason we're getting pushed back here a little bit. Would you want it on your property? Would you want anything on your property that we could commit to do for you from that standpoint? Might be another way to look at it.
What do you mean?
We can, if you want mounting on your property,
No, thank you.
yeah, we'll be there, we'll be happy to do it, before we build the fence and everything.
I offer to sell you the property so that the entrance could be much nicer, or that you could have all these houses, and so you could do all this the right way, but you guys aren't interested in it, and just putting 106 right on top of me is just, it's a little irritating, but it is what it is.
you know, you're buying that land and wake up.
Yeah, it's not that straightforward to just buy your ground, obviously, otherwise we would happily done that, given nice property. Your house probably costs almost as much as the property in some respect. I mean, they're selling around on an acre basis, so.
I have another question. In regards to the trail, it's not designated where the current watershed creek is. So how close is the trail?
Which trail?
The little trail where you have the benches. Because my land is Kansas and there's a watershed that goes all the way down to the lake from there. And it flows north somehow, some way, but I'm just curious as to how close.
To the creek, I don't know for sure. There's a lot of topography actually. You can see on exhibit C1 or that we call out slopes of about 20%. And we kind of just read the path on through that.
Okay, that makes things a lot clearer.
Okay.
How far, I mean, let's say when you're 34 and everything gets approved and everything, how far are you, how long is construction?
Probably the beginning of next year. Probably the reasons why we're able to, you know.
So you're going to disrupt for a year.
Yeah, it'll probably be the first part of next year.
Okay.
Maybe December, but if we really should be ready to go.
If there are no more comments, sorry,
Quick question. On this access road, is it going to be gated off or will it be wide open for people to drive?
you should use those bollards. Yeah.
It's what?
The owners are there for fire.
Yeah, bollards, it could be like big concrete walls, but they're usually just like, some, they're like, I don't know, rubber isn't the right word. Like,
Plastic.
heavy duty glass, I mean, yeah, there is something where it delineates in the fire department, if we has to keep to it.
And the signage that's emergency.
Yes, yeah.
And they're right at the beginning of it, if you can't drive a car up to it, it's right at the beginning, so you can get to it.
I just drove by a couple off of Old State Route 3 on the way up here as you get, there's a few of the new kind of projects that have emergency access out on the Old State Route 3. And you can see that, yeah, when you're driving there.
I'll look for it.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close comments from the audience and turn this over to our applicants.
I think, we've gone through a number of conditions here that we'd be amenable to, and, you know, we would love to have your approval based on those conditions. If you want to walk through those again, so they have that memorialized, that'd be great.
If you want to, if it helps, I had, there were no bottom elevations on the first 6 homes, no fire brick color siding on the first 10 homes, crosswalk and ADA access for sidewalk out of the central green between lots, whatever,
73 and 74.
you know, between lots 73 and 74. I had stone head walls required in the text, which the stone veneer on the concrete head walls, has been added to Exhibit F1, put that into the text. And then I had garden varieties or some other type of fencing delineation to help delineate the path between lots 73 and 74.
For the fire threat, can it be lots, just so that it makes a little bit more sense, lots 1 through 7, and then 105 and 106? It's 105 and 106 that directly across from 6 and 7.
So say that again.
So lots 1 through 7,
Yeah,
and then on the opposite side of the road, you have lots 105 and 106.
You ran one,
Is that-
104 and 10.
What's that?
We need 104
we'll
and
give
10.
it 1 through 8. Yeah, 1 through 8.
For 1 through 8, I think that was only 9 lots, so it's making sure everyone helps. 1 through 7 and the other 2 would be 9, so
Yeah,
we'll
one
have a
through-
reference where the 10th is. Or is that all?
It's fine, it's a clear, it gets you further into the neighborhood that
I'll do 1 through 8 and 1 through 5 and 1 through 6. Yeah. Those were the 5 main ones that I had tonight. Yes.
That's it. Kathy would give us something to write this on.
way. You can write it on one of the exhibits.
This is one of the exhibits 5. Yes, good name.
I'm going to bring them.
Okay.
I'm just like, kind of on this. I would say probably either D1 or F1, because that has the trees listed on it.
Okay.
Probably F1 because yeah. Because there's this space at the top.
What do you write on that?
F1, exhibit F1.
Do you guys have good handwriting? Maybe you should.
Oh. One on yours, or we say one out?
Sorry,
We want to do a 5-minute recess and we can write it.
It's fine. Do a 5-minute recess for a bathroom break.
Yes.
Right, like you have.
Terry usually gives her.
When I try to
Okay.
Okay, we are out of recess and we do have this form with the 5 conditions that have been agreed upon.
So hold on, I think there's only 4 here. So no more
There's one over there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then that will, the number 3, that will go, houses 46 and 47, that's where a curb cut should come back up on from the crosswalk.
Oh, okay, yes, that, perfect, yeah. Let me add that in.
I can put it right below
Yeah,
with curb
Curb
cut
at between 40.
between 46 and 47.
Yeah, correct.
That is right, 46.
Yes, it is. And then whoever is acting as the representative, you need a signature for this and this one as well.
Do we want to call them back to order?
Oh, I thought I did.
Oh, yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay. It's 3, 11, 25. All right, so you all would like a vote this evening, is my understanding.
Do you want to read the conditions, or we're gonna read them when you do the motion?
I figured I'd do it as per.
Yeah, that's fine. Just wanna make sure I got them.
Close the hearing.
As you say, well, or I guess whoever said that, I just want to make sure that we change it to from 111 to 106.
Right. Anybody feel like we can,
I have a motion. All right. So, I move to approve BZC 24-007, on Sandra B. Barber trustee, 475 North, 3 BZC Road, Sunbury, Ohio, 43074. It's going to include parcels 418-1100-103-0000 and 418-110-103-1000, which is plus or minus 37.6 acres in Berlin Township overlay, commercial overlay, to a TPUD, which is a transitional planned unit development district. It's 106 detached single-family condominiums, 3 BZC Road, Sunbury, Ohio, known as the Bluffs at Elm Creek. This will include the following conditions. We will have no modern elevations on the first 6 homes on lots 1 through 6. There will be no fired red or fired brick color siding on homes 1 through 8, as well as 105 and 106. We will include a crosswalk and ADA access from sidewalk out of the central green between lots 73 and 74, with a curb cut then directly across from that to be ADA compliant, which should be between lots 46 and 47. There will be stone veneer on the concrete head walls, which that requirement will be added to the text. And then number 5 is arborvitae or other plantings to delineate the walkway between lots 73 and 74 that will come from the central green space. Make a motion to approve.
Where's the second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yeah.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
So I want to say for the people that are still here, so as we said, there have been a lot of meetings on this. And it does personally hurt my heart to have something so close to the township, or not the township, oh my gosh, the state park. But when I look at, something is going to go in there. And if we can keep it at preserving as much of the natural element that's out there. I do still have concerns about parking. I have a feeling that's gonna come up with the amount of parking with the trustees, and I'm positive it's going to. But if we can, our job again is to apply the code, and this very closely follows the code. So even though it does hurt our hearts to put something so close, and we completely understand the concern with kids, going across this being, allowing for more parking to get them closer to those cliffs to jump off and possibility of fires. Unfortunately, that's out of our control from a enforcing code perspective. So I hope that you can understand that, and everyone listening, and that we are truly applying the code here. We felt like we got it to a place where it was the most palatable, and that's where we're coming from on the board.
Well, thank you for attending. It is important. We're always happy to see people here. All right, thank you, John.
So what happens next, just out of curiosity?
I will send the trustees an email in the morning, as well as the clerk and Aubrey, our new administrator, let them know this passed. We have to hear it within the required amount of days at the trustee level, since it's the one step. If you want to go ahead and get these books updated, I need 5 books for the trustees. So with all these conditions, it'd be great if they had.
At their next meeting, they'll set a hearing date, is that right?
So I have to talk to the prosecutor about this. They've had some back and forth on how they do that. If you guys are okay with it being a little further out, they won't be that worried, but I want to make sure that it meets the requirements of the ORC. And there's multiple ways it's interpreted these days.
Okay.
Okay,
But we'll follow up. I'll be in touch.
For that meeting, try to remember obviously, you'll keep the modern in there.
Yeah.
But with the, with having that, the veneer on the front, just make sure that one of your exhibits, that you have comments in there that that there won't be any houses without.
we'll add it.
Yeah.
Can we make
I can see that.
Thank you for that. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So, any business from our zoning inspector?
And,
Do you have any updates for us?
I'll give you a quick rundown on my zoning report. We did 23 new single-family residences in February, 5 accessory structures, 1 permanent sign, and 1 temporary sign. We are working on getting the historical permits into iWork. Dealing with a violation now that is, somebody has a shop at their house they're working out of, the neighbor complained. They don't have a conditional use to have a business there, so just going through the hoops to get approved. It is a conditional use. They're allowed to work there, so you just have to do some material storage things. That's been something I've been working on for a little while. And then just getting Aubrey up to speed has been fun and challenging.
So just over a week now, right?
Just over a week, yeah.
And I was trying to find out, like, what's her background? I know what the.
She was the administrator for Grandview Heights. And previous to that, she worked at, in the government in Troy, Ohio.
Not to bring up, but what does an administrator do?
So in the past, because there's never been an administrator, each trustee had like a branch of the government, like Megan was over zoning and Ron was over roads and Ken is over the fire department. Now, the trustee is the supervisor, or the administrator is the supervisor of everyone. Gets meetings organized, it deals with all the ins and outs of the trustees, you know, generally have full-time jobs as well. So it's somebody that's here managing the township for the trustees, essentially. It's a pretty important position, and it makes things run so much smoother when it's operating. And that's why it should, in the long run, make the meetings less, because then the trustees shouldn't be focused on little things that they really shouldn't be worried about.
That's great.
So I think that's their end goal.
And Ruger interviewed for Kathy's position.
They have interviewed, Aubrey and I interviewed two. One was a no-go. The other one, she was offered the position and declined.
Oh,
So
but she interviewed for
she did interview for it. So I think we're gonna go back through the resumes we got and cut some of the applicants.
Is there any option after Kathy leaves that she might be brought in to do some training, or is that?
I think she would be willing to, but I don't know if there's a desire for
Trustees
that
meeting.
from the trustees' point of view.
I'm just wondering. And is, oh gosh, what's Keith's wife? I forget her, Jenna?
Jenna,
Is she staying?
she said she could pick up 3 more hours, and come in an hour earlier. But she's gonna be here, but she doesn't wanna transition to that job.
which is understandable.
So we won't be completely without some presence besides you.
I think Jerry's gonna be coming back from Florida.
Oh, Jerry's.
I'll make him
Kathy.
sit at Kathy's desk. He's been downgraded to 20 hours a week, so but he can at least fill in some and help us out. So hopefully we get some good applicants.
Let's hope, okay.
Well, I guess I haven't honestly even seen it advertised.
It was on our website and on Indeed,
Okay.
so it was probably on LinkedIn then as well, because I think if it's on Indeed, it's kind of
I mean,
automatic.
this is gonna sound funny, but is it ever put on Facebook?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't run Facebook.
Like, who does manage Facebook or?
Kathy has been.
Oh, okay. Kathy needs to do her own post. Kathy needs to do her own post up there.
Yeah.
And maybe just talking to Megan about it, because I feel like that's appropriate. I mean,
Yeah.
From my
It's
perspective,
always
that
a good place to put
it's
this
to
stuff.
get more out there, right? And there's a lot of people that follow that Facebook page.
It's like if all of us post it and we all have 300 people that we're friends with.
Exactly.
they can see
The
it.
more visibility you can get on it,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. So, I guess we are not having a meeting on March 25th.
No.
You're gonna be gone, everybody's gone. I'll be here. Okay, so we will not have another meeting until April 8th. We've got this.
Yeah.
Evans Farm.
Oh.
It's the PCD, the reshaping of the PCD.
Okay.
So a quick rundown on that. The first packet after, like the one with the writing on it, is what you should be considering. The other packet, which looks the same, that doesn't have any handwriting on it, is what was given to the trustees to determine major and minor. And then with the packet with the writing on it is what the trustees and Dan Griffin of Evans Farm kind of agreed to bring to you guys. I only need to see the difference.
Thanks for clarifying that, 'cause some-
Yes. So,
Can you put that in email too?
yeah, I can do that, absolutely.
Because I just heard you, but I don't think I actually took it.
So there's 2 identical packets. One has got
Yeah.
handwriting on it. That's the one you should be considering.
Okay. Are they one, because that's just a-
Separated in here?
I thought they were stapled together separately.
I feel like I just saw 2 pages in a row that
But
looked
they're
very
looking
similar.
for approval on these changes, right?
What the changes are not, I'm not gonna get into the hearing part, but I can give you a quick rundown. The roads that were originally proposed aren't gonna happen. The county
Okay.
isn't changing the road, so that doesn't fit the old shape of the proposed land commercial district. district. So they want to reshape it to fit the roads that are currently here that we're keeping. And they're keeping the same acreage, same density, same architectural criteria. They're just looking to change the shape of it.
That's the only thing we're hearing.
But because it was essentially determined because it's a change to the zoning map, that makes it a major change.
That makes sense.
But this is the one that they didn't show up.
No, that was
No, that was
That was-
Ravinia.
that was Ravinia.
I was confused about
Yes.
So this is, Ravinia can't happen until this happens, kind of thing. So by bringing in Ravinia, they put the cart before the horse, essentially.
Yes.
And that's what I was like, you gotta fix the zoning map, because right now you're encroaching, Ravinia was encroaching on the PCD.
So the date that we picked for Ravinia,
They don't get tabled that day. We'll just open, then we'll start, April 8th, we'll start with the Ravinia hearing. It'll be tabled and continue to a time certain.
And
then we'll just go right into this.
Okay.
So we do have two things.
We have to.
Okay.
Technically, but we won't really.
We
start with
shouldn't spend any time on the one.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah, I'm just like, wait a
That's
second. I just combined it in my phone.
PCD.
it's the same concept though.
The other thing is, the PCD change, you have to wait till the referendum.
Yes. So, yeah.
Because it's a zoning change, so
right?
state law says you have to.
Yep.
That, before they can have Ravinia.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question there about the Ravinia, since it's broken up into so many pieces, since they piecemeal that thing. Can you get them to consolidate?
They are designing a holding packet for you.
Oh,
I told them,
Thank goodness, because.
I said, I want a new packet
It was,
that is all inclusive with everything you're doing up to date.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely. I get it too, because it gets hard for me to keep track of these, like, all these different binders and like, well, we're adding this to this one.
Ignore that from that binder, but really
so
look
they're all
at
between the cracks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it never seems to
this.
go
Okay.
in the township's favor.
This is a good example of why I like the one step. It took longer here, but they came 3 hearings, they made the changes. It was voted on, it goes to the next step. You guys don't have to see it again. Or remember what had happened in those hearings to know.
But in a perfect world, we wouldn't have had 5 conditions either. So we
Yeah.
still have some discomfort with the whole
I
condition.
feel like you'll always have a couple conditions.
Yeah, and we ran into that thing, I forget which, development it was, but where we had the amendments and then the
Yes.
trustees did not, you know,
And they're gonna be more careful about that.
yeah, and that was,
Because that one's.
And this is having these conditions, they are designing brand new books with
okay.
those conditions
Okay.
incorporated.
And
all the-
who makes sure that?
I will review it before I give it to the trustees.
I don't mean to be mistrustful, but I'm.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That was it.
Accidentally give us something that's for Powell,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
The trustees shouldn't get the same book as you guys get if there's conditions in it. Should be updated to reflect the conditions.
I like that plan.
Too.
Because that has worried me a lot. Okay,
Sounds good.
yeah, nice. All right, anything else? No?
One of the things, and I think you and I talked about it briefly, is that I think there's a list of changes coming down for the zoning code. We should have a look at this change in building separation when we do something that we're talking about in the BCO or any of that, because, you know, those figures are way out of line for that. And I think we need to revisit that.
The BCO, BIO.
Well, as far as the distance between it, or even in the TPUD.
Yeah, between the structures.
In any of these constructors like that, I mean, you know.
Yep.
And when there's condos, because that was what we just ran into, oh my gosh, what is it called? It's over near Winterbrook Place.
Yeah.
That whole enormous condos, townhomes, commercial. We had a lot of discussion over there because of in the top portion where they were condos and they're maintained and what's the right amount of space to go between buildings. Like we felt that pinch during that conversation. So we need to have it,
The
I feel like we need to have it in the code.
And the interesting part about the TPUD is if they would have come in and said they want to do 4-unit townhomes with 25 feet in between the 4-unit townhome structures, there would have been a divergence.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's really odd because now you're saying, but you, it just
Yeah.
doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think I have a note of that in the, in my markup version that you guys will get.
Very good. All right, should we adjourn?
We should.
That's so, okay. Thank you, everyone.
So, Levi, you need
You can do
your
it by
copy.
property.
Yes.
And then I think that that's your version.
That is mine and the gentleman took the other page.
Somebody leave their code here?
No, that's.
That's raised.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What's raised?
Your jacket.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Easy.
All right, are you gonna turn that recording off?
Yes, thank you.
So we put that.
These minutes.
I
Hopefully,
wasn't at this meeting. I wasn't at a meeting.
you are allowed.